bending level 2 activity we're going to have for exercise select this time is going to be a touch and go power snatch. Thank you to Matt Springer for instructing this for us. Just some background on Matt too. He's an OPEX coach here, on-site and remote. He does a lot of his clients in a remote setting. He's in a university setting for his college education, and OPT into OPEX Big Dog follower, and is always interested in fitness, and currently practicing that with a whole lot of people in an online and in-person setting here with OPEX. He's going to be doing touch and go power snatch, 5 on the minute for 10 minutes. This is prior to an exercise session. He's going to do some interval repeats with rowing and burpees. Anyone who wants to get into some power development stuff that's touch and go, you want to consider it, first in a absolute strength setting. So people want to have great squat and deadlift patterning that you want to be really okay with. So they have prerequisite then absolute strength ability, and we use ideas of a deadlift times 1.25 body weight as a standard measure, and body weight back squat before they want to get into technique of clean and jerk and snatch. And when they get into technique and usage of clean and jerk and snatch, and they want to go in through accumulation and intensification phases of those, I think those actually preempt touch and go work. I think touch and go work only came to be really in terms of its broad usage in fitness with the advent of intense functional fitness, because of having to be able to do the turnover with a barbell in an aerobic fashion to try to be competitive as possible. And so the practice of it is really key. Now with grid, now with CrossFit, in which people have to make weight training so proficient, it's become a secondary thing that's a necessity for people as another skill. So absolute strength first, squat and deadlift, and upper body measures as well, strict chin-ups, strict dips. You have to be proficient in the clean and jerk and snatch up to maximums, meaning you're just building maximums on each one of those. And then I think you're capable of getting into the eccentric action of repetitive exposure with a touch and go. I'm not sure of Matt's 1RM. Matt, right at this time, what's your 1RM for a power snatch? At this time. Today. Power snatch.
205 to 10.
So that's 70.
Excuse me, 105, 110.
That's 75% there?
A little less.
Okay. So this is a little less than 75% he's doing for 5s. If you're thinking about it, this is a coach as to how to prescribe this in an every minute on the minute setting. Just remember, like we do teach in program design, the EMOM principle is for skill development. If someone's looking to do this, he's not doing it, or he may not be doing it today for capacity measures. For higher NME people, you want to be working in percentages of 55 to 65% is a really nice place to be and be comfortable. For people who are lower NME, 70 to 80% with 3 to 5 reps every minute on the minute would be very effective for those individuals. Matt is just moving up to close to 75% right here with this weight. He just said as of right now, it's probably over 200 pounds would be his power snatch 1RM. That's probably at this point right now because he had a pec tear doing jiu-jitsu. Hurt your pec? Yeah, jiu-jitsu is where he hurt his pec. And he's been recovering that for a good period of time. Some things to think about when you're going to be doing it for people who get to the point where they can practice it every minute on the minute. Are you going to stay at 3s? Yeah, you're going to go 5 to 3 and stay at 3s?
5 to 1s.
Okay.
2 minutes on 1s.
Okay. Cool. So he's going to build up some singles here, which is kind of good too, so we can see the differences from him moving from the touch and go work to his lack of power development when he does the singles because of the touch and go nature. For individuals that are ready to do this, I'm a big fan of starting at the lower end of those percentages based upon their NME, and then allowing them to build volume based upon perfect execution, no fatigue within the sets. Like that would be considered a point of fatigue within the set. And when you start seeing their breathing become a real limiter on the minute, that's the whole idea around every minute on the minute, is to challenge those other components. So when people start to do, you know, the 3rd minute, the 4th minute, the 5th minute, and on the 6th minute you can start to see their breathing really get elevated where their CNS is giving you an indication that they worked a little harder for that amount of volume, I would shut it down and then build volume as a training session for that touch and go work, whatever you choose it to be, power snatch, hang power clean, power jerk, touch and go, whatever the case may be, clean and jerk, or power clean and jerk, touch and go. I would shut it down at that point in time when you start to see it. A lot of people with those percentages, the key component for touch and go every minute on a minute is they don't know how to breathe with it. Because the percentage should be at a rate where you don't have to have that maximal Valsalva maneuver. Now he's just getting into doubles and then moving up to singles where he is going to have that real strong breath as he's even below his percentage of his max based upon that. What percentage is that now to that? Is this 90 of that? Yeah, this is 90% of that one though, right?
Yeah.
You got 3 more minutes, right?
Yeah, 2 or 3.
So let's see if we see any change in force development here. Is he? Yeah. There you go. You know what you should do, just for teaching's sake? Go back to 155 and do 5s every minute on the minute for the next 3 minutes.
You said 75?
That weight there, right there.
For 5s?
Yeah. Yeah, just because of the teaching of it, so that they can see now too, you know, that maximal contraction you just attempted, how that now helps when you lower the weight to do touch and go activity.
Oh yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do 5 here. And then give some feedbacks to how that felt when the weight goes down now. So see if he can rep it out with it. He's got some good hip extension. Yeah, that's really good. Good. Okay, so 2 more minutes, and I want you to really try to just focus on breathing for the next 2. Nice and relaxed the whole time. Try to do the least amount of Valsalva as possible to get the work done. That makes sense? So just a practicing thing for Matt here. So to cue up as we finish the last couple minutes here, make sure you have progression of absolute strength built in those hip movements from ground-based development. You have proficiency in maxes for clean and jerk snatch with awesome technique, and then I believe you should be able to get into touch and go efforts of those different movements, and then you can practice all different components of the touch and go effort as you need into the year, and then improve them into capacity and even into fatigue state pieces with other components prior to competition as needed. So look like a little bit less stability when you tried to focus on that. Did that you feel, right? Yep. So try to find the middle ground now for the next one. Last set. And then, as I said, progress the people into touch and go work as this. And maybe start with triples and focus on people's breathing. Make sure they get it down path. And then I think you can build volume in non-fatigue sets like this is for Matt here over time. And then start doing other movements with it every minute on the minute. And I think you can make some great progressions of it. So that for today is level 2 bending is touch and go power snatch. And the next time we'll do a touch and go shoulder to overhead just to try to complement that. Perfect amount of time.
Yeah.